Good afternoon. Well, not really, actually. Welcome to the MU Review. My name's Liam Neild. This is where we talk about Manchester United and football. But there's really not much to talk about today. It's the same old shit. Another 0-0 draw at home. Tony Pulis' side comes to Old Trafford and gets away with one yet again. I don't know what it's been. I find it hard to believe. Well, I mean, we had a few years of Ferguson versus Pulis where, Pulis caused us problems, but I don't recall us ever having such a block against the manager, despite the fact that we've had 3 different managers in the last, 4 seasons, and none of them have really been able to get one over on him, at least at Old Trafford. It's for some reason we can win at the Hawthorns just fine, but we never looked like winning the game today, to be totally honest. We had a few patches here and there, 5 decent minutes, a bit of pressure, but it wasn't consistent. It wasn't the same lambasting performances that we were giving even at the start of the season. In the draws against Burnley and Stoke, in Hull City, West Ham even to a certain extent, in those games you sort of said, well, how the hell didn't we score? Whereas this game was almost Van Gaal football. It was very slow, it was very sideways, and none of the players, well, I won't say none of the players, some of the players played very well, but a lot of the players out there seem to not really get what they have to do. I mean, it's the same sort of body language that we were seeing from players like Di Maria, Depay, players that were really letting us down in the last few seasons, and today we saw that from players like Mkhitaryan, some of our new blood. So it's worrying to see this trend, because it's obviously not just, we call it Van Gaal football, but this is still happening under Mourinho, so there's more to it than that. Obviously Van Gaal did a great deal in his 2 seasons to try and change or try to adapt the ideology of Manchester United, at least in the short term. And I guess some of the lag from that is still set in. I mean, the game itself, we're missing heavy hitters. There's no doubt in my mind that had Ibrahimovic and Herrera and Pogba been on the pitch, that we at least would have put up more of a fight. I'm not guaranteeing we would have won. I mean, this season I couldn't guarantee you anything for Manchester United. But I do get the impression that if we'd had those players on the pitch, that bit more creativity, that bit more of fight, and just raw talent, then maybe we would have at least looked like scoring a bit more often. But I mean, we had opportunities. Mkhitaryan missed one. Ben Foster made some good saves. Marcus Rashford almost put in a Ronaldo free kick in the last minute, and Foster came up with the goods. De Gea very nearly screwed the pooch for us by dropping Darren Fletcher's shot over the line. That would have been just brilliant. It was very Roy Carroll-esque for a second there. He got saved by the crossbar. But yeah, I mean, this is just a little bit more sad. In the past I've come on this review and I've been angry, I've been upset, I've been frustrated, and yeah, I'm all of those things, but there's almost like this overwhelming just depression almost, that it's just never going to get better. It's like I've moved on from denial and anger and bargaining. I'm on to depression at this point. I'm just thinking, well, there's another season gone, and it's so much wasted potential for this team. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to be all doom and gloom. I know that next season we'll be right back at it. At the end of every season, the scores get reset to 0 and everyone gets to go again. I mean, look at Chelsea, probably going to win the league despite just losing to Crystal Palace at home. So anything can happen next season, but we've been saying next season for the last 2 or 3 seasons. I mean, we're not quite Liverpool yet. But that being said, Liverpool beat Everton, today, and we've got to go play Everton in a few days, and playing the way we did today with the players we had, I'm not confident that we could even draw against Everton playing like that. So obviously we'll welcome Ibrahimovic back. We'll see what happens with Pogba and Herrera. I would doubt that either of them would be back in time for the game on. Well, Herrera is only suspended, not injured, so I think Herrera and Ibrahimovic will probably be back. But Pogba is probably a bit too soon with his injury. But yeah, I mean, it's looking increasingly like the Europa League is going to be our only option for the Champions League next year, and that's okay. I have said all season long I'd happily finish 10th and win the Europa League, because really at the end of the day all we're trying to do is get in the Champions League. Once the league title was gone, which was, it's been months now, really the only goal is to get in the Champions League, and the quickest way to do that is to finish in the top 3 and get automatically in, and if that's not an option, go through the Europa League, so Europa League winners get in actually ahead of the 4th place team. The 4th place team has to play a playoff, so I mean, in a way, winning the Europa League is a lot better than 4th place. But the problem, the problem here is that we've got this symptomatic problem. It seems that Mourinho, I mean, he's going to need. We always said new managers. I mean, Liverpool fans have been saying it with Klopp, City fans with Guardiola. These new managers, they need a couple of windows to get themselves together. Chelsea are a bit of a different case, because they were already a championship winning team that just sort of down tools, and they proved in the back end of last season that they probably could have competed for the title last year, but for whatever reason they didn't. And this year they've just, they've added obviously the best midfielder in the world at the moment, N'Golo Kante, and they've flown. Same with Spurs, they've made key acquisitions in a couple of areas, but the brunt of their team is still the same team that challenged last year. We went out and we looked to buy players that would make us challenge, but the problem is that we still have a lot of players in the squad who are from the old regime that I don't think Mourinho wants, and he's not going to name names. There's players that he's probably thought, okay, I need to get rid of these immediately. Those are the Depay's, the Schneiderlins, the Schweinsteigers, and then there are those who he probably thought, well, they're probably not on massive wages, and I can probably use them. And these are I personally think that's how he's using Chris Smalling. He doesn't seem to favour Chris Smalling too much. Luke Shaw's another one who I think he's probably just thinking, yeah, I'll just wait and maybe ship him off in the summer. I hope that's not true. But yeah, I think this summer we're going to see a bit more activity. Especially in the sales department, we will see a lot of those Van Gaal signings and maybe even some of the Moyes signings. I mean, he only made about 2. But I guess Guillermo Varela counts as well. And we'll see a lot of those players move out and be replaced by Mourinho men. And we'll just have to wait and see how that goes. It's disappointing for any football fan to accept that the season isn't going to go the way you wanted, because until you get to April, you can always kind of fabricate this scenario where you're going to go on this fairy tale run and it's all going to work out in the end. Even at Christmas, I'm sure even United fans were sitting there thinking, oh, well, we could still win the league if we turn it on, But now we're at a point where, there's not enough games left. I think we've got 7 games left. We're 6 points behind Liverpool. Even with our 2 games in hand, which are by no means guaranteed 3-pointers. I mean, we're away at City and Arsenal, or we're away at City and Southampton for those 2 games in hand. So I mean, we're looking at probably not picking up 6 points from those 2 games, which means we're off the pace from Liverpool. We're off the pace from City. Obviously, that Manchester derby this month is going to be absolutely vital for us. But you look at it and you say, well, do you really believe in a team like United to go and beat those big teams? Because the thing is, you've got to beat the big teams and the little teams to win the league. To finish top 4, you almost only have to do one or the other. Liverpool have struggled this season against the smaller teams, just like we have, but they've beaten the big teams, which is why they're in 3rd right now and we're in 5th. We've not beaten the big teams. We've actually not picked up 3 points against any of the big teams except Spurs at Old Trafford. I mean, you can say what you want about the Arsenal results and the City games and whatever, but the fact of the matter is we've not put points on the board. And now we're at a point in the season where the games are running out, and you don't look at any game and think, all right, we're going to win that one, because I mean we've been drawing with Bournemouth, with West Brom, with Burnley. The worst teams in the league have been taking 2 points from Old Trafford. And in that sense, you're almost glad that we're playing away at White Hart Lane, away at the Emirates. I mean, I know that when you play big teams, it's a very different dynamic, but playing against a side that's like Tony Pulis's for West Brom, that is set up to go and do what they just did, and you just sort of think, it's worryingly Mourinho. I know that might sound like a bit of a weird thing to say, but I think that this kind of attitude where, oh well, he shouldn't be playing football that way, I'm not gonna change, I'm gonna do my thing, and then if his anti-football ends up winning out, then I'm just gonna complain about it. And that seems like a very Mourinho attitude, and it seems like the players had that attitude today. They had this attitude of, oh well, this is how you play football, and they're not playing with us, and they kept going to the ref. Lingard was going to the ref constantly, and so was all of the players really, especially Wayne Rooney when he came on and saw the red mist immediately. They were playing directly into West Brom's hands, because all West Brom are going to want to do away at Old Trafford is they're going to want to niggle you a little bit. They're going to want to muscle you out. They're going to want to knock you around a bit, and if you let that get to you, then that's exactly what you're playing directly into their hands. That's exactly what they want. That what they want is to turn the referee against you by having these little niggly fouls that maybe the referee doesn't catch. They're the masters of the dark arts. They're always going to do stuff like that, West Brom. And Mourinho and Man United players should know that. They should know that this is how it happens. Pulis has been in the Premier League for 10 years now almost. Get a clue. We know that this is how it works. Rise above it, be a bit more mature, be level-headed, because if you're composed, you're better footballers than them. Pound for pound, every single one of our players is better than their players. And if our players would just relax and play adaptive football, where they maybe say, all right, you're gonna give me a bit, I'll give you a bit back, but don't scream in the referee's face, because Lingard constantly going to the referee, the crowd constantly getting on the referee's back, the constant abuse from the United players, while the West Brom players are just quietly going about the business. You say what you want about referees being impartial, but referees are gonna have that bias then. if your team, if it's very possible for a team to turn the referee against them, and that's what West Brom did today. Is they got under our skin to the point that we then, our behaviour in reaction to that, then turned the referee against us. And I'm not saying Mike Dean had a bad game. To be honest, there wasn't too many decisions that he made that I thought, oh, that was a blatant wrong decision. It wasn't like Michael Oliver the other week or Mike Dean himself a few weeks before that. You know, he had a decent game today. The problem for us was that we were determined to complain about everything that wasn't going our way because it wasn't going according to our game plan, and there was no adaptation there. And that was the worry for me, is that we can't play football maladaptively like that. You've got to be able to win 50 different ways. That's what Ferguson was brilliant at for so long, was almost being man enough to admit, right, scrap this, approach is wrong, you know, adapt, see what's going on, and make changes. And Mourinho didn't seem to want to make any changes, you know. As far as substitutions go, Wayne Rooney came on. Did we even make another substitution? I don't think so. I mean, I know that we're pretty thin on the ground in terms of players, so there aren't too many options off the bench, but it's just that kind of like, he thought, okay, I'm going to send this team out there, and if they win, good, and if they don't, well, then it's, you know, Tony Pulis' fault. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's exactly it. He's gone and done a job on us. So West Brom have come and done a job on us, just like so many other teams have. But the difference with this one is that West Brom weren't lucky. You know, Burnley were lucky, outrageously lucky. Hull, a bit less lucky, but still very lucky. Stoke, the luckiest of them all. But West Brom weren't really lucky today. They earned their point. They could have had all three. We weren't really on it, and that's the thing that is disappointing at this stage in the season. The fact is that we're not getting better, we're getting worse. And I know that when our players come back into form, and hopefully when, obviously off the back of an international break, when we get a few games going, get some rhythm going, I fully believe that we're going to win more games. You know, I would not be surprised at all if we went and beat Everton quite comfortably in midweek. I'm not saying we're going to, but I wouldn't be surprised. You know, I could see a reaction, especially with Ibrahimovic and Herrera, that sort of fire back in the team. But then we've got such a busy month. You know, we've got those Europa League ties which have taken on, you know, ridiculous significance now. And you just sort of, you feel like at the end of April, we're going to be out of the top four race. If we're playing like this, you know, we're not going to pick up the points consistently over the month, and other teams are going to get further away from us. So, I mean, 5th or 6th might be where we finish, but if we win the Europa League, I don't think anyone's going to care where we finish, at least not us, you know. I mean, we could finish 6th and Liverpool could finish 4th, and we could still get into the Champions League ahead of them, you know. We could get straight into the group stages, and they could have to go through a playoff. So it's just, it's disappointing. It's been a disappointing season, a bit underwhelming, but yeah, I mean, I'm rambling today. You can tell the match has just finished. I'm rambling, I'm disappointed, and I'm just sort of trying to get my thoughts together. But, I mean, ultimately, we've dropped more points, and it can't keep happening. My man of the match was Jesse Lingard. I do want to highlight a few of the players really did seem like they knew they were up for it today. Rashford, energetic as ever. Lingard, best player on the pitch, all over the place. Absolutely, really unlucky to not have his teammates. I think his teammates let him down today because he had a couple of great balls into the box that nobody was taking the chance on. Michael Carrick was pretty solid as always. Eric Bailly had a bit of fire about him, but pretty much across the rest of the team we had average to subpar performances. I thought Mkhitaryan was anonymous. He had one big opportunity and he blew it. Martial had flashes of brilliance, but he definitely seemed to have that, not necessarily attitude problem, but that sort of sulking tendency that he seems to have when referees aren't giving him things, and when, you know, he's getting muscled off the ball a bit, he does seem to sort of pout a bit and put his head down, whereas Rashford sort of puts his head down and runs at you faster. So yeah, I could spend all day analysing every individual performance, but the fact of the matter is we put a team out there that should have won the game today and they didn't. And that's been the story of our season. So yeah, pretty depressing video today. Not exactly anybody who was tuning in hoping for me to be screaming down the lens. You know, I'm past that point. You know, go watch some of my videos from earlier in the season. I'm screaming down the lens a bit more, because back then I still thought we had a bit of a chance at doing something. But now I'm sort of starting to think that the league is a bit gone. Not the league title, I mean the league in general, as in us getting into the Champions League through the league is pretty much done. You know, I mean, we would have to go on a massive run, and we would need two of the thing is that we need not just one team, we need two teams to drop off. Yeah, we're still ahead of Arsenal, so I mean really we just need one of Liverpool, City, or I mean I think Spurs are out of reach now, but one of Liverpool or City to drop off, and you just sort of think, do you really trust United to pick up the points that those teams drop, especially when we're still in the Europa League and these two teams aren't? No, you don't. And to be honest, I think it would be great for English football if United did finish 5th and win the Europa League. But as a United fan, I don't want to put all my hope in a tournament. You know, a league is supposed to be a much more fair representation of a team across a season, whereas a tournament you can go out on a bad day. You know, the league you can't really go out on a bad day. You need a culmination of bad days. You know, Chelsea had a bad day today. They're not going to lose the league over it, I don't think. You know, we've had a series of bad days that have led us to be in the position we're in. Whereas in the Europa League, all it takes is one bad game and we're out. You know, we could go away to Anderlecht and get a 1-1 draw or a 2-2 draw, and you'd think, right, we're right in the position to go through to the semis, and then we could lose 1-0 at Old Trafford. You know, any given day, if you have a bad performance in that competition, you're out, and then all of a sudden, the whole season is gone. Because, I mean, we've already won the EFL Cup, we're out the FA Cup, we're not winning the league, we're probably not getting top 4. The Europa League is probably it. And if we get to a point, you know, where we're in the quarters, you know, now, if we get to the semis maybe, by the time we're playing our semi-final, that could literally be our only route, mathematically, to get into the Champions League. So that's a lot of pressure, and this team hasn't done well with pressure in the last few years. So we'll have to wait and see. We will have to hope that happens. I personally, like I said, I would like it if United could win the Europa League regardless of where they finish in the league, but if they do finish 5th, they have to win it. And then at that point, having 5 teams potentially in the Champions League from England next year would be great for England as a country and for the UEFA coefficient. So I think there is a reason for, you know, maybe Spurs fans or maybe Chelsea fans, to especially Spurs fans, I reckon, to want United to maybe do well in the Europa League. Because if we really don't want to be losing any of our Champions League spaces. So, but anyway, I've rambled on for far too long. Anybody who stayed tuned in the video for this long, I don't know what you're doing with your life. You need to go do something better with your time. But thank you anyway. Like the video if you've enjoyed it. Comment if you've got anything to say about it, and subscribe. Make my day.